Amongst us, the Venda people here in Venda, the indigenous forest is very important. The indigenous trees are very important. The rivers and springs and wetlands are very important. And all this is under the shade of indigenous forest. Then we have been doing many dialogues around our culture. And we find that our culture, the core part of our culture is the spiritual element. And the spiritual element for us, we connect with the indigenous forest for the spiritual rituals, like spiritual processing, sacrament. We depend on the forest, we depend on the water which comes from the rivers. We also depend to the rivers, the wetlands, like the waterfalls, the natural pools, the lake. They are very important. Then when we do dialogue about our culture and the importance of the forest, we see that we have gained a lot of knowledge from the elders about this experience, the connection of them with the forest. Then we see it and realize that it's better we plant again the new trees, because here in Venda there is so much destruction of the indigenous forest. If we go to our mountains is full of blue gum trees, pine trees, these timber trees. There is a lot of agricultural processes for monoculture, and this has destroyed the forest, because when they want to do plantation of bananas, they have to remove all the trees. When they want to do the plantation of avocados or all this macadamia, cabbages, all these things for commercial farming, they destroy the whole forest. Then we see it and realize through the many dialogues which we did that it is important to replant the trees again. People like children no longer know the wild fruits, which we get them from the forest, from indigenous trees. There are trees which are there in the river basin. Riverbed has the trees, the plants, and there's so much destruction. Then we see that we have to replant these trees again. Then we have a dream of establishing a nursery of indigenous trees. And we found a permaculture guy. He's called John Zira. He's in Midrand, Joburg. He came here in Chidzibe, in Butanda, different communities where we are working together. And he trained us about the permaculture process, because we want to produce the real trees. Then he showed us how to make compost and how to plant the seed in the compost and take care of it until it germinates and grows. Then we told him that we have already do the mapping of the area, and in the map we found where there is so much destruction of the trees which we want to replace, especially in the sacred forest, because our place here which are sacred site is the forest. There is so much destruction of even indigenous trees which are in the sacred forest. Rivers are empty. They no longer have their blanket, which we say the blanket of the river is the forest. Many hills, many mountains, many places, there is so much destruction, including the wild fruits. Food which we get from forest is no longer there. We told him that we do mapping. Then we walk to the forest with the elders to go and find the seed. When we are walking, we learn a lot in the forest, because it was a working with dialogue about importance of the trees and forest. Then when we arrived at the tree, big tree which have seed, we see that the other seed is there, the other seed is there, the other seed are near the stem, the other seed are on that side. This is where we also learn that we need to pick the seed as the elders through their experience. We don't know where did they learn, but they were saying don't take the seed which is far from the tree, because that seed is going to germinate to make another tree, because this tree is an elder and it will die. Already it has prepared itself to have another child to grow like it. This is why we learn that when we go to take seed in the forest, we don't have to collect all the seed. We pick, and the seed which are near the stem, we don't have to collect all of them, because they are reptiles, they are insects which eat those trees. And if we took away, the birds will no longer have food. And the seed which we pick, when we go home, we're not going to put the chemicals, because in our organization, it's a community-based organization of the knowledge of the community. It's based on the knowledge of the community, this organization. We learn about the impact of using chemicals, the impact of eating the food which are planted by chemicals. Then even our trees, we said we don't want to plant our indigenous seed with the chemical fertilizer or other thing. Then we use the compost to plant the seed, and we produce the tree from the seed. And the purpose of doing all this work for bringing the knowledge about the value of the forest and the indigenous trees is because here in Venda, there's so much destruction of indigenous forests, so much destruction of the indigenous trees. We did that because of that. And our vision is that these trees should be planted in the degraded area. These trees also should be planted by the children, so that the children learn about the value of the trees. Like in schools, we take the trees which are wild fruits, so that children, they learn about the trees that they also produce. But when we do all this process, it's through dialogue and ecological mapping, to map the area, to map the knowledge around the trees and forests. Even with the children and teachers, we do this mapping. And when the children plant these trees in the schools, they know why the trees is important, why the indigenous forest is important, because we even take the children to the forest for forest walk to see the importance of the forest. Before we were having funding, because we depend in other big NGOs, where they look for funding and they come and buy these trees. And when they buy these trees, they said we can give anyone because they are paid. Because planting these trees is a project for women to find ways for generating income for their house. And we want to generate income in an understanding the value of mupo, or value of nature, the value of ecology. That's why we do the project of doing indigenous planting through organic way. Then these women, they earn the money through selling these trees. We were having funding from bigger NGO, from UK, from other people who were helping us through funding. Per year, even now, we are able to produce 10,000 trees. 10,000. Because here in Chidzibe, we are having 14 nurseries. And in one nursery, you can find a person have 2,000 trees, 3,000 trees, 4,000 trees. Another one have 500. And we have 3 communities which are producing these nurseries. Besides here, Chidzibe, where we have 14 nurseries. And we are able to produce 10,000 trees. And when we say 10,000, we mean the trees which are ready to be planted, because the small seedlings are still germinating every month. Because when we plant these trees, we also look at the ecological calendar. When will this tree have the fruits? Then we pick the seed in that time. The next season, which tree are having the seed, we go and pick. That's why our trees become many. It's not a difficult thing, because once you take a seed from of the tree and put it in the compost and water it, it germinates. We are having our website, is there, zomolamupo.org. It is there online. And also, we are looking forward to get support for these trees, because since 2014, these trees are staying in the nursery because we no longer have funding for taking these trees away. Because what we need is for people who can donate to pay these trees to the women who are producing them. After that, we take these trees and go to the degraded area and plant them. We have all energy to plant them with the community where they want to plant the trees. We also go to the schools with the trees and give the children the opportunity to unearth the knowledge from the elders about the value of trees. And these children, they plant those trees and they dedicate to take care of these trees. This is the process which we want. Even people, yes, they can come and buy trees and plant in their degraded area or in their homestead. Yes, we also want the people who love trees and plant, because these trees, they will replace the forest which has been destroyed, because it's so many trees a year, and we can replace the degraded area by replanting these trees. Because also for me, through having this organization, even going to IUCN, going to different places, there is the threat of climate change. And if we do not plant again the trees, the issue of climate change, we can try to solve it or to mitigate it. But for me, through my experience and through learning from indigenous ways here in Venda also, when we are having the real forest, there was no this lot of problems which is causing the climate change, global warming.